Well, we're getting reports in that there's a Tea Party rally going on here in Washington, D.C. So far, only about 100 people have showed up. This is according to the reporters on the scene. And many of them are actually the staffers of the big K Street lobbying firms and PR firms that are in the employ of the Koch brothers and Dick Armey and Freedom Works and the other groups that make sure that the Tea Party gets a lot of press. But a larger question here, is the demise of the Tea Party near? According to a new CNN poll, the Tea Party's favorability rating has sunk to an all-time low, just 32%. 47% of respondents view Tea Partiers negatively. This poll's on the heels of nearly 3 months of Tea Party rule in the House of Representatives that's seen nothing accomplished on jobs or getting our economy moving again. And this week there are reports that the Tea Party Republicans are threatening to shut down the government unless they get everything they want in budget negotiations. So are people finally starting to see the Tea Party for what it really is? A large group of politically naive white folks who showed up, not realizing that they were being manipulated to vote against their best interests by radical millionaires and billionaires like the Koch brothers and Dick Armey. Well, let's ask one of the leaders of the Tea Party, Mark Williams. MarkTalk.com is his website. He's a radio talk show host and Tea Party advocate. Mark, are the Tea Party days numbered?
The name, I think, is probably on the way out the door. You're seeing several things reflected in this poll. One is as you pointed out, the political naivete that is the very definition of any kind of grassroots movement. I mean,
at least at first,
don't know how to respond to attacks. If, for example, Michelle Bachmann disappointed me greatly yesterday or day before when she, responded to Steny Hoyer and Chuck Schumer's attacks on the Tea Party as, well, they're holding up the budget, instead of saying, well, yeah, we were sent here to, bring some common sense and adult supervision of this building. She bought their premise that the Tea Party was doing something bad by causing both Democrats and Republicans to just stop the insane spending and bleeding of the working class American.
And she's just for reference here, and I'm not interrupting you to fight with you here, Mark. For reference for our listeners, Michelle Bachmann is, if not the founder, she's certainly the president of the Tea Party caucus in the House of Representatives. So
and I think in her case, as in most professional politicians' cases, there's an element of, hey, this looks like a good idea, let's latch onto it and see where it goes without really understanding what the movement is about.
Right.
I wrote a piece yesterday for my blog, which has been picked up by a number of Tea Party sites, doing the exact opposite. The title is, Steny Hoyer, so what's your point? That's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be holding up the spending and the taxing. We're supposed to be making them cut the budget and do it intelligently. We're doing exactly what we should be doing. So I plead guilty on behalf of the Tea Party for the budget stalemate, and I'm glad to see it. The other thing you see happening here is there has been an erosion of I hate to sound so crass and commercial, an erosion of the Tea Party brand. There are a number of public figures, high-figure Tea Party people like, Mark Meckler and Jettie Beth Martin and her husband, and some other commercial interests that have gotten involved in this because there's a great deal of money to be made by calling yourself a Tea Partier and selling T-shirts. So that has disillusioned quite a few people. On the other side, what's happening is those people who have been most active in the Tea Party, both at the grassroots level and the organizational level, are abandoning the name and spinning off into a number of splinter groups, all working toward the same goal, but under a variety of different names. My old organization, the Tea Party Express, still exists, but isn't very active under that name. But there are 3 or 4 other groups that those of us who organized it, have spun off to be involved in.
Mark, 2 quick questions.
Yeah.
The first, I've been suggesting to my listeners for a long time that in many ways we have probably average Americans, average working Americans, have more in common. Tea Partiers, average American workers, Americans, and liberal Democrat union member, average working Americans have more in common than they have that separates them, and that we should be, my listeners and I, should be showing up at Tea Party events, use the Koch brothers' money and Dick Armey's millions to get some publicity and have an event with signs about those things that are in common, like let's get out of NAFTA, let's do away with GATT. Let's nationalize the Fed. Let's get the rich, the rich corporations, General Electric making $14 billion, paying not a penny in taxes. The most powerful and richest corporation on earth, ExxonMobil, making $46 billion in profits, paying not one penny. In fact, they got a $400 million tax refund. GE got a $3 billion tax refund. These are the things that I think will bring people together. I thought there was a brief moment there when even Donald Trump might end up being this generation's Ross Perot when he said, we've got to put an import tax on Chinese goods so we bring our jobs back home. And then he went off on being a birther and kind of blew that. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that a lot of people will need CPR in this one, but I agree with you that there are a great deal of commonalities here, and that those union members who are clamoring for what they think are their rights or what they believe are their rights, if they were clued into how the union leadership of the unions that they belong to is ripping them off.
Well, let's not go down that road, Mark, unless you want to debate that, because I'm trying to find areas where we're working in common.
Well, this is the agreement.
Well, let me in that case, in that context, let me ask you another simple question. In that case, let me ask you another simple question.
Sure.
Why would an average working person, union or not, why would an average working person be concerned about an extension of the dividends and capital gains tax, so that guys who are Wall Street, hedge fund managers making $2 billion a year pay a maximum 15% income tax? Why would they be concerned about that? Why would they be concerned about the Koch brothers oil factories not having to comply with environmental regulations, rather than being concerned about the fact that these radicals in Congress want to cut millions of children out of Head Start, they want to close community health programs, they want to shut down Pell Grants for kids to go to college? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, they should be concerned because it is part of the wholesale transfer of wealth that's taken place in this country over the last couple of generations, under both kinds of administrations.
Mark, I think you're missing something. We had a transfer of wealth. I'll go along with you on both of these. Actually, we had a transfer of wealth from the 50s through the 80s from the very wealthy. They actually grew in wealth, but you saw the bottom 20th percentile growing significantly every decade, about 10, 12% during the 60s, 70s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. But starting in the 80s, right now, people in the bottom half of America, workers, are making a couple $1,000s less than they were when Reagan came in. So there's been a transfer of wealth in the last 30 years. All of it has been up to the Koch brothers and their rich buddies. There was also transfer of wealth back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. All of that went to the middle class. Why would you be in favor of the status quo instead of wanting to go back to what we had during the Republican Eisenhower administration or the Republican Nixon administration?
Well, the Tea
or
Party
Jerry
is not
Ford.
in favor of the status quo. That's the whole point of the Tea Party. I mean, beginning, especially with TARP, there has been a massive, massive transfer of wealth from the middle class and the working stiff in this country to a small group of elites at the top.
Well, as much as I hate TARP, Mark, I don't know if you've read the news today, and TARP, of course, was George Bush's program, but TARP has now been paid back. TARP is in the black. It's a profit for the government. The problem is they could have used that same amount of money to simply give it to homeowners and refi their homes, and through the government program they would have made their money back. And just why are we saving the banksters and screwing the average working person? We got a minute.
Well, TARP was paid back with money taken from those working stiffs, both in taxes and then when their homes were taken up from under them.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And when the value of those who could hang on to them. So I'm agreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing. And that's the status quo that the Tea Party stand against. It's the elites at the top that we're against. And this is where union membership, and I'm a union member. I belong to AFTRA, the blood-sucking vampires.
Hey, I belong to AFTRA, and I'm quite happy with them. I'm hoping to have a pension from them one day. Mark Williams. Mark, we're out of time. Mark Williams, right. Mark Talk. Here we are, two union members on opposite sides. MarkTalk.com, the website. Thanks for dropping by, Mark.